Hey, I'm Creech and this is Creech and Cars. At the cusp of electrification in the automotive industry, one thing became clear. For fully electric vehicles to be successful on the marketplace and compete with ICE cars, they had to be very expensive. The cost had to cover the software and hardware engineering to get new electric models going, but also cover the cost of multiple motors and large expensive batteries in each and every car. Due to the already high cost of developing EVs, it really only made sense to make high-end EVs and sell them with a luxury price tag. Although there are some slightly cheaper EV options available now, the American Startup Fisker thinks it finally has the cheap city commuter car for the electric era. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the exterior and interior design of the Fisker Pear, and then I'll go over the performance specs and features of this compact EV. Finally, I'll talk about the pricing information and potential release date, and then give my thoughts on whether or not the Pear can really succeed in the subcompact segment. Before we get into it, make sure to give the video a like to see more like this and subscribe so you don't miss future uploads. This is part of a series on the channel called Startup Showcase, where I take a look at new startup car brands and their models, so make sure to check out the Startup Showcase playlist for more. Now let's get started with a look at the exterior. Of course, the Pear shares a similar silhouette with other subcompact crossovers, and I think there's especially a similarity with the Kia Soul. The Pear does go for a slightly futuristic look, but it's nothing too crazy or outrageous. The front end really looks like a miniature version of the Fisker Ocean, which is Fisker's larger mid-sized SUV. The headlights are set in a thin black strip with Pear spelled out and backlit in the middle, which is a higher end touch, but the flat black plastic grille and cladding definitely lets you know this is a cheaper model. The windshield has a steeper slope that isn't usually seen in this segment, and there are a couple nice body lines on the hood and some lines tracing the fender flares. I do think the wheels look a little funky, but they kind of fit in with the overall image of the car. The door handles close flush, and that combines with digital side mirrors to give the Pear a sleek side profile. The Pear also appears to have a solar roof like the Ocean, but this is assuredly an option and won't be found on the base model. The rear quarter window is blacked out and blends in with the roof, but you can also see the bodyline rise to form a triangle that stands out in the design. The roofline slopes back ever so slightly to the rear, where we can see an interesting light design. It's a thin red LED in a geometric shape around the rear window. Below that, Fisker is stamped into the rear hatch, which doesn't open in a traditional manner, but more on that later. The design finishes off with some more black plastic, but overall, I think Fisker did a good job with the Pear's design. It looks fun and unique without being over-styled. However, things get a lot weirder on the inside. Firstly, when stepping in, you can see power is stamped on the sill. This isn't a very powerful car, as you'll find out, but I guess it's just supposed to mean electric power or something like that, but it's there nonetheless. The door panel is mostly black plastic with some fabric trim, but there's also a little body colored portion around the window control. The interior materials are definitely cheap, and it shows, but I think that's okay. Really reminds me of the Ford Maverick, where traditionally cheap materials are used creatively so that the interior is still interesting to look at while keeping costs at a minimum. The dash is black and body colored, in this case blue, where the top area and vents are all black plastic, and then the blue portion has some open storage. There's no center console, so it seems like there's not a ton of space to put stuff, but the total storage volume probably isn't that far off of the competition. The steering wheel is a little odd with the two-spoke design, and then just one dial on either side as the only visible controls. The blue accenting and the Fisker logo do look quite nice, however. There's just one stalk that provides the wiper and light controls, and to the right, the Pear has the option for the same 17-inch rotatable infotainment screen found in the Ocean. The Pear has a bench seat in the front and rear, and both are the same 60-40 split, so even though this is a tiny car, it can haul 6 passengers. The seats are cloth and don't look particularly comfortable, but that can be forgiven at this price point. Moving around to the cargo area is where you'll find the most interesting and innovative feature on the Pear, and that is what Fisker calls the Houdini trunk. Instead of a traditional liftgate that can be hard to open in tight parking spaces and dense urban areas, the rear hatch on the Pear simply drops straight down, seemingly disappearing, hence the Houdini name. Once the hatch drops, it reveals a fairly spacious cargo area. Obviously, it's not huge considering the footprint of the vehicle, but it appears to be more than good enough for the target market, as there is also a front trunk to give you a little more storage space. There is a slight downside to the Houdini door, and that is that it raises the loading height, so it will take a little more effort to put heavier items up into the back. Interior features are going to be limited, as you can tell just from looking at it, but Fisker probably expects most Pear owners to just use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, so I would expect that to be standard, although there might be an additional option for wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. But other than that, the screen should just give you basic climate controls and car settings. There's also what Fisker calls lounge mode, where the seats can recline all the way back, providing a large surface where passengers can lounge. As far as performance specs go, the Pear is pretty solid for the class that it competes in. We don't have too much information on trim levels right now, but there will be a base model with a single motor, and that will be two-wheel drive, I would assume front-wheel drive, and there will also be an upgrade powertrain available that uses a dual motor setup with one motor on each axle, so it is also all-wheel drive, which is unheard of in this segment. We don't know exactly how much power each setup will produce, but it's probably not going to be a huge number, because that doesn't really matter here. However, Fisker does say the Pear can do 0 to 60 in as little as 6.3 seconds. To put that into better perspective, the Kia Rio needs almost 10 seconds to get to 60, so the Fisker Pear shouldn't have trouble getting up to speed on on-ramps. The Pear also uses the Fisker Blade as its performance computer, which can receive over-the-air updates. Fisker will also give buyers the option for 2 different battery packs. The smaller of the two offers only 180 miles per charge, which might not sound like a lot, but the Pear is really targeting those who live in and around large cities, and 180 miles is more than enough for the day-to-day driving in these areas. Still, there is a larger battery pack, which should be able to provide up to 300 miles of range on a single charge. The Pear will be produced with the help of Foxconn, and Fisker expects the Pear to go on sale in the second half of 2025 as a 2026 model year. The big news here though is with price. The Pear is supposed to retail with a starting price of $29,900 before any federal or local tax credits. So while the Pear definitely looks and feels cheap in some areas, I think it would still feel like a great value if Fisker can actually deliver it at that price. Price here is going to be the major determinant in the success of this model, along with Fisker's ability to produce the Pear fast enough and with consistency. I think it's pretty obvious that there is a huge market for a $30,000 commuter EV that has a ton of city conveniences, and the Pear would sell in huge numbers in the US and Europe especially. The real challenge here for Fisker is to be able to maintain that price for the next few years while keeping up production and deliveries, as there is going to be a very slim margin on each car sold, and Fisker needs to sell a lot of these to make a net profit. One final note, I think it's important for Fisker to go after this market segment because even if it can't make a ton of money off of the Pear, a cheaper high volume car will spread brand awareness and help increase sales of the brand's other models like the Ocean and Alaska. So that's everything we know so far about the Fisker Pear. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and check out the Startup Showcase playlist for more. Also, consider subscribing so you won't miss any future uploads. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.